Okay, so welcome everybody. Good to see so many familiar faces. I'm excited that you showed up. Um, yeah, I'm happy to have this event and to introduce you if you haven't already met Adrián and learn about his book and his teachings. I'll just start by sharing a little bit about how I met him and why I'm excited about his book. Um, so like many of you, will be a lifelong student of remembering ancestral knowledge, and certainly from my Mexican ancestry, reconnecting with the knowledge of ancient Mexico, especially all that existed uh, before colonization, before the Spanish invasion. Um, and so much was destroyed, and I always start that way, but also so much was preserved, and there's so many people, especially in Mexico, but also in the US, especially around danza, who are really doing a lot to kind of remember, revitalize, reignite relationship with in this particular aspect, the cosmology. And as an herbalist, when I was writing my book, I really wanted to ground the herbal practice in the traditions, and that was, I always say, that was out of my comfort zone to write about cosmology. It's not my expertise, but I felt like it was really important to include to talk about herbalism. It didn't just come out of nowhere, but it's really rooted in these ancient ways of being in the universe and understanding the universe. And a lot of my guidance when I was writing was my maestra, Koskakoatl, who's the leader of the danza group I was part of in Berkeley. And somewhere, maybe about 2 or 3 years ago, I was literally on Facebook, and I think an ad popped up about Kali Mexica and this class, Mexica Cosmogony, that was taught in English. And that's another thing, as a non-fluent Spanish speaker, I think there's very little available in English language as either teachings or writing. So I was really excited. I was like, I'll just sign up for this class. And it was taught by Adrián. And I feel like I took your class 2 or 3 times because material is so dense and so complex, but he really presented it in a way that it just really worked for me. He's an artist, he's a filmmaker, and so he always had a lot of visual graphics and a very kind and patient way of teaching, and also just a passion. I think we share this for just kind of reconnecting, rekindling our this ancestral knowledge, but also how do we apply it to the modern times. So in a class I was teaching recently, one of my students asked if and gonna just name you, you're like, are there any books on Mexica cosmology? And literally like 2 days later, Adrián, like, you texted me and you said, my book's coming out, and it's available in Spanish and English. And I think through Amazon, right, it could be translated into any language, but it's available in Spanish and English. You can talk about that, Seeds of the Universe. So I got really excited because, the notes I had from his class were jumbled, and it's so much nice to have, like, it's so great to have all of the information like in a book. So it's really excited about it. I've started reading it. It's really, so I invited Adrián to come and just share about his book and his work and his teachings, and I'll just do a little bit more of an introduction to him. Make sure no one is in the waiting room. Nope. So Adrián Koskakoatl is a passionate Mexican artist and the creator of art in Kali Mexica. And this is the school, and you're based in Mexico City. He is known for his innovative approach to blending traditional Mexica culture with contemporary artistic expression. His most recent work, I guess this isn't your most recent because now it's your book, but before that, he's also a filmmaker. It was the documentary Mexica Nation, 500 Years of Resistance. And maybe, Adrián, you could also share how people can find that. So his film garnered international acclaim, winning several prestigious awards. Through his creative endeavors, Adrián continues to explore and celebrate the rich heritage of his ancestors, bringing their stories and wisdom to a global audience. So with that, thank you, Adrián, for saying yes to my invitation, and welcome to a lot of the people in my community up here in El Norte, a community of curanderas, danzantes, herbalists, seekers of ancestral knowledge. So thank you for sharing with us, and I'll just pass the mic to you. Gracias.
Well, thank you very much for such a beautiful introduction. Really appreciate your words, Atava. I think you can decorate me more than I could ever, speak for myself. So I would like to first open my introduction by speaking the language in which we are going to talk about in this small presentation, which is the beautiful language Nahuatl, the word of the Nahuatl. And well, it goes like this. Kenenkate no yolikniwan, tlankehtowan moyolotzin, ashan tonaletikate ompa, matlakle iwan ye quetzpalin, matlakle iwan ye ocelot, matlakle iwan oeshiwitl tekpatl, ximupanultika no yolocuale, no yolocuale ni nochitzitzin, xinimpanultikan ompa amoshtin, seeds of the universe. Now I'm going to translate this straight from the Nahuatl in a poetic way as it sounds in English. And I will say, how are you, my dear and honorable brothers and sisters? How is your heart today? How does the sun receive you this morning? My name is Adrián Koskakoatl, and I am the teacher of the study of our stars in Cali Mexica School. Today, it's a day 11 listed from our 13-day cycle Jaguar in the year, or the new year, 12 Flint. I am very happy, my heart is very happy, and I hope you enjoy this presentation of the book, Seeds of the Universe. So that will be the literal poetic translation of the Nahuatl, Nahuatl language, which technically we cannot say Nahuatl, which should say completely, which is Nahuatlactoli, the word of the Nahuatl. But this is how I want to start this this talk, this presentation, by explaining to you how I divided the book Seeds of the Universe. This is the Spanish version, but you can get it in English as well. How I divided this book and how I got the idea to create such, well, for me, such an honor to my ancestors. First, I questioned myself if I had enough knowledge to produce the word written, because we have to understand that, as the poet Nezahualcóyotl said one time, at least we have to leave flowers, at least we have to leave gardens so that the next generation can do something with the earth. So I was thinking, how can I leave flowers? How can I create gardens for the new generation? And so I decided to walk the, at first, difficult line, and then it became slightly more easy, the line of learning the language. I have to be honest, as I speak 4 languages, for me, it was kind of a strategy to learn it. It was more to understand how to learn, verbs, nouns, adjectives, etc. But then I discovered something brand new that all the other languages that I speak, they don't have it, which is an explanation of the universe. Yeah, because it's a mother language. Nahuatl, or Nahuatlactoli, it's a mother language which only in the world has been 7 mother languages, only 7. And those 7 languages, they spoke the word for the first time. So they named the universe for the first time. And the Nahuatl language did that so beautiful because it describes everything. Simple words as, for instance, when we look upon the sky and then we see how the moon kind of goes in half because the sun is covering it. In English and in Spanish, we say eclipse, right? Well, in the Nahuatl language, we say the moon or the sun is eating the moon or the sun. So we say, for instance, Metzcualo, the moon is eating the sun. Tonatiucualo, the sun is eating the moon. So it's very clear what's happening, right? It's very, very obvious. We are just describing what's happening in front of us. So that's the first thing that you are going to see in my book, which is the importance of the Nahuatl language in explaining everything. You cannot talk about a culture if you do not understand, or at least try to understand, the language that they spoke. What do I mean by that? Let's just make an exercise, my dear students. Think about Shakespeare. Let's just go to the other side. Think about Shakespeare. He spent so much time writing all the poems, writing all the sonnets and the plays in beautiful written English. English that I, for instance, I learned when I was in London. And you have to read it, you have to speak it, you have to play it in English so it gets the real juice about it. What happens when you read Shakespeare in Spanish? It doesn't have the same rhythm. It loses everything. It loses the beauty of it. So if we apply this logic to the topic of philosophy, it goes like this. British philosophy has to be, British or American philosophy, it has to be written and read in English so it makes sense. French philosophy has to be written and understood in French so it makes sense. Spanish philosophy, the same thing. So why does Nahuatl philosophy has to be understood through Spanish or English and never through Nahuatl? So it kind of makes, it breaks, you see? We are reading Nahuatl philosophy through the lens of another language. So we are not allowing the Nahuatl language to really express us how it feels. We are judging it from a different perspective. So when I decided to compile this book, I said, there is a lot of information that you can find in historical books, primary or secondary resources. You can go into museums and you can get information. Sometimes, or most of the time, it's very outdated. And there's a lot of books around us that they try to explain the world, but all of them are written in Spanish and they never allow the Nahuatl to flourish. So what I did was I went to the communities. I went to the people who spoke the language, and with my poorish Nahuatl, I tried to, create a dialogue with them and ask them questions like, what do you think about life? How do you describe love? How do you describe fear or a nightmare? So the communities spoke to me in Nahuatl. They said to me, this is how we see the world. And then I discovered everything. So for those who have the book already, and if you don't, well, I recommend that you do, you're going to see that every now and then in my paragraphs, you're going to see a small kind of italic phrase in Nahuatl, which then is explained in English or Spanish, but it comes from that phrase because I asked the question straight to the community saying, how do you think this? How do you see this? Where does this come from? And for the very first time in my life, I understood that the Nahuatl vision, in this case, the Mexica vision, is still alive, but it's in the language. It's not anywhere else. It's in the language. And so I want to share with you my screen because tonight, in this beautiful night, which by the way, in the Nahuatl language, the most important thing about living is the sun. So that's why we always greet the sun. We say, "Que no te semihuilten," how does the sun receives you today? Or kenoti tlaneshli, how does the midday sun treats you? So when the sun goes away, we say, we hope that you have a good night, meaning that hopefully the sun will come up again, because during the night, the sun takes away our face. We stop seeing things clearly. It kind of rips our faces away. So we cannot see very clear. So the night for the Mexica, it's a period in which everything feels slightly insecure. But when the sun comes up, then our Father Sun, the rays of the sun, Xiuhtecutli, allows us to see clearly. So the sun is everything to us, everything. So I'm going to share with you my screen, and I hope that you will enjoy my presentation. 1 second, so I can see. Can you see my screen, by the way? Can you see it?
Yes.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so let's begin our journey, my dear students, by observing this first slide, in which we can see clearly a man. It can be, I don't know, modern times, 100 times ago, a million, whatever. It doesn't matter where in time this is placed. The great significance about this first slide is that at one point, every single human being, creature, or living heart looks upon the stars, looks up at some point, one day. One day our cat looks up. One day our dog looks up. One day us, we look up. And we question ourselves, what's out there? Where do I come from? Why am I alive? Why am I here? And guess what? The Nahuatl language, through the voice of a very old man, 80-year-old to be more precise, he said to me, you know what? Well, he calls me dear student. You know what, dear student? Listen to this phrase, please. It says, Se sitlalsin kipia ichan ipan noyolo. I will repeat again slowly. Se sitlalsin kipia ichan ipan noyolo, which translate as, one day a star decided to have a home in my heart. Yeah, let's process that again. One day a star decided to have a home in my heart. I would like to express this beautiful thought by understanding how the Nahuatl language conceives life. It says that a piece of a heart, a star, a simple star, decided to travel millions and millions and millions of light years, which is a distance measuring, and decided to come into my heart and gave me life. And the same process happened to everything around me, even the tiny insect around me has a piece of a star. Yeah, it's a piece of a small star, and it just moves around with me, and a plant as well, which means that we all come from the big universe. In Nahuatl, the universe, we call it Semanawak, which means that which extends. Yeah, that which extends, that's Semanawak. And the place of origin of everything is called Omeyocan, which means the place of the dual heart. Now, our ancestors, in particularly the eyes of the Mexica, decided to build, construct, design what we call now the sunstone. Please do not refer this as an Aztec calendar, because you have two words wrong. It's neither a calendar, and it was never Aztec. It's a Mexica sunstone. It was built during the Mexica time and measures the sun around our small solar system. Yeah. So if we follow up, then the sun moves in the center of our thoughts. It's basically the interpretation of everything that happens around us. And what I did, it was I observed very closely the Mexica sunstone, and I discovered that what they are trying to do here is not tell you the spiritual world, it's not tell you how to live good. It just tells you how to measure time, how to measure existence. And so I discovered that we can do this in a very interesting way. We can adapt in a modern way these images. Yeah. Which means that everything that surrounds the universe, everything that we live, everything that happens around us, storms, waterfalls, volcanoes, earthquakes, the process of living, the process of recycling, everything that surrounds us cohabits the whole universe in the same way and ties everything in one big circle, which means that whatever we have here, yeah, applies as well in every single direction. It's not linear, it's a circle, the way we view things. I'm going to clarify this for you to see. So all of these symbols, right? All of these symbols, they have meaning. They are not gods. They are not deities. There is not such thing as the god of death. There is the concept of death. There is not such thing as the god of wisdom. No, there is the concept of speaking. Yeah. So everything that you see around here, it's an idea. And this is because, and this is again, another phrase from, this time it was from a 50-something old woman who said that her grandmother used to tell her, don't write things, draw your ideas. Yeah, draw your ideas. Why? Because when you write things, you begin to limit your creativity to a standardized word. But if you decide to transport your image into something that you can draw, then your conception of nature and the universe becomes more creative. Let's just reflect about this. If I ask you right now to write the word love, every single one of you will write it the same way, Love. But if I ask you, could you please draw love? Then every single one of you will do it in a different way. Yeah. And so language changes. So all of this, right, are representation of ideas or concepts. Everything is exposed in a way that we are trying to give meaning to the universe. Yeah. And if you focus in the center of it, I'm sure that if you are part of a Kalpuli or a dancer, you will recognize these 4 center pictograms. These 4 center pictograms, they are widely known as Tezcatlipoca, but in the Nahuatl language, we named them differently. We named them Intezcame Ipan Tonemilis. I will say it again. Intezcame Ipan Tonemilis, which translates to the reflections of our way of living. Yeah, the reflections of our way of living. And let's expand on each one of them. So here we have 4 of the images. Yeah, on the right side, pointing to where the sun comes up, we have Quetzalcoatl, very widely known and wrongly known as well as the feathered serpent. Please do not be guided to that meaning. It's not the feathered serpent, because the word feather is not in the word Quetzalcoatl. Quetzalcoatl breaks down as Quetzali, which means precious. Something is beautiful. If I say Quetzali, a name Quetzali, it means beautiful or the most beautiful thing. And then Coatl is snake. So what I'm saying is the most beautiful snake. Then we have here Tezcatlipoca, which translates as the smoke in the mirror, not the smoky mirror, just the smoke in the mirror. Then we have Xipetotec, which means or translates as just like peeling off things, peeling something out. And finally, Huitzilopochtli, that is not the left-handed hummingbird. That's the weirdest translation I have ever heard in my life. And I will explain to you why, and I think you're gonna laugh about it. I was a couple of years ago when I was practicing my Nahuatl. I was very young in the ways of speaking, and I was very nervous. So my knowledge of the Nahuatl language and of the cosmogony, it was very limited to what I learned through calpulis, through information that is not centered in the way people express themselves. So when I went to the community and this um, very prestigious teacher of Nahuatl language, I asked him and I said, so Huitzilopochtli means the left-handed hummingbird, right? And his answer was, very comically, he said, the day that you come here and you tell me with absolute certainty that that specific hummingbird is left-handed, I will believe you. Yeah, because when you see a hummingbird, it's so difficult to say, oh, that hummingbird is left-handed or left-winged in this kind of sense, or right-winged. It's impossible to say, really impossible. So it cannot translate as that because the Nahuatl language describes things. So I cannot describe a left-winged hummingbird. What it really translates is as this. Huitzilin, it's just the spine of like the little tiny thing. It's like a thorn, yeah, like a thorn. If I say Huitzilin, then I am referring to the hummingbird. But if I only say Huitzi, which means just the little peak of the end, the thorn, and then I say Oposhli, which means left, but it doesn't mean just left. It means moves to the left because it has an O at the end of Olin. So if I say Olin and then Poshli, I contract, I basically agglutinate the word so I can say Oposhli. So I'm saying movement to the left of the thorn. And that's the sun, my dear students. The sun moves to the left, passing through the east, to the south, to the west, and then through the north. So Huitzilopochtli is just the representation of the spine, of the thorns of the sun, which moves up. And now let's apply this basic knowledge of understanding our concepts through the eyes of the practice, which is the main area of the book. Let's amplify just Quetzalcoatl and notice this beautiful symbol around it. The section of Quetzalcoatl, which is right here in the book, probably around the middle, it says, Totlachtu toihio. I'll repeat again, Totlachtu toihio, which translates our words, our breath, yeah? Or our wind, if you want to be more poetic. So our words, our wind. How do I express this? Simple as this. In the Occidental knowledge, yeah, the way of thinking is that for some strange reason, the selected special human beings are the only ones who are allowed to have a soul, and the occasional cute dog, yeah, are the only ones who have a soul. But the rest of the things, they don't. For instance, if you ask a person whose beliefs are more orientated into that area to describe paradise, they will describe it as that, as a beautiful place where all human beings that are, well-behaved or well-behaved pets are going to find themselves. But they do not mention where the flies go, where the cockroaches go, where the ants go. That's crazy, right? They don't belong in the paradise, even though maybe a cockroach was very good, was morally good and ethically good, right? It's impossible. For the Nahuatl language, it translates as this: our words, our wind, which means every single creature that lives with us has a way of talking, has a way of expressing itself. And if you don't believe me, I have here a cup of coffee. When it's like ready and pure, it just smells so good. So it's communicating with me through the wind that it expresses, right? Freshly baked cookies, they smell gorgeous. They are communicating that way. The sea communicates in that way as well. The mountain communicates in that way. Everything has a way of expressing itself, a wind. So no wonder why our ancestors drew words like this. Like this. It looks like the wind, right? It looks like wind. But that's because everything communicates. So if you see, for instance, our ancestors in a codex representing a waterfall, they will draw this as well because it makes a sound. Yeah, it makes a sound. Fantastic. So I prepared this image. This is from our talented artist called Polaris. You can find it on Instagram as Missing Cosmonaut. And I believe this is a beautiful representation of what Quetzalcoatl really is, which is carrying the wind. Now I'm going to ask you a question, my dear students. In what way you talk to nature, you talk to the universe? How do you relate to it? What kind of words, what kind of wind are you producing? Because whatever you say and whatever wind comes from you, it's the only thing that is going to be left behind when we go to Mictlan. That's the only thing that we have, we can leave behind. Everything else, it's material. Yeah? So let's move on to Tezcatlipoca, right? Tezcatlipoca, it's very, in the Mexica tradition, contemporary Mexica tradition, it's very well known as the study of the introspection, right? The study of who we are and how do we think. But the reality is not far from that, but it's slightly incomplete the way the modern Mexica tradition tells us. Because Tezcatlipoca is not only doesn't only apply to us, to human beings. It applies to everything that has a way of existing. Yeah. So, for instance, we are talking about the purpose of everything. So, Tezcatlipoca, here we have an image of Mictlantecutli, which means that Mictlantecutli is explained as the end of things, the end of your life, the end of movement. So Tezcatlipoca asks you, every single one of you, my dear students, why are you here? Why are you alive? What is the purpose of you coming into this universe? Because if you think about this, millions of sperms, when your birth happened, millions of sperms, they couldn't make it, only one. Yeah. So what are the chances of you coming alive? And when you came alive, then what is your purpose? Why are you here? What are you going to do with your life, with your existence? Because nothing exists without a purpose. Everything exists with a purpose. So ask yourself that question. And I have this beautiful image, again, done by our artist Polaris, where you have a woman and then the extension of her hair creates a river, and then you have this man kind of sailing around it. If I please, I would like your participation here. If anyone wants to have interpretation of what it's trying to tell us, this image, I would love to hear your opinion. Bear in mind, there are no wrong opinions. We are only seekers of the truth. So any opinions, or what do you think this image is trying to represent? At least one of you. There are many of you online.
Is it like the soul's journey?
Soul journey. Okay, so first, let's just take the idea of soul, right, and leave it where it belongs, which is in another way of thinking. For the Nahuatl language, there is not such thing as a soul. There is only two things, which is your heat. It's called a tonali. Your tonali, which you receive it as the minute you are born. That's your heat, and you leave it once you are to Mictlan. That's why you get cold, right? The reason why you get cold is because your tonality is now taken away from our sun. And the other thing that you have is your Ihio. It's spelled I-H-Y-O, Ihio, which means it's your wind, the way you talk, the way you express yourself. The combination of heat and wind create your identity, who you are. So if you say the journey of my wind, I could see where it goes. The journey of my heat, maybe, yeah, maybe. Anyone else? Thank you very much, by the way. I couldn't see who was, but thank you very much. Okay. I asked especially Polaris to design this image because it's the journey of your birth. This represents a tiny sperm, and this is the female counterpart. So it's just a journey. Yeah, the journey that it takes. And specifically, I said the journey that it takes is inheritance. So you are alive, or we are alive, especially in this conference, because we are interested in bringing back our ancestors. So your journey is to sail until you find our ancestors, until you find knowledge. Yeah. So let's move on now to the third one. So that's Shipetotic. And this is incredibly beautiful for me to explain because it just blew my mind when I was talking to the people in the community. And I'm gonna describe to you how I learned the ways of the heart. I was one day, it was late, around maybe 8, 9 p.m. And in a small town in Mexico, that's late because, you know, people are kind of afraid of what could happen in during the night. So I was just walking back with a couple of friends from the community, and we were walking as well with 40-year-old mathematician teacher that speaks Nagus as well. So, and we saw in front of us coming out from a pulqueria, from a bar, this really drunk man, probably around in his 70s. And it was just, it was a piece of work. So it was just, walking quite dizzy and, no sense of equilibrium in no way. So it was just out of balance. And the math teacher, whose name is Raul, he said, that man, I've known that man for the past 20 years. And since then, it's like that. He, and listen to this, he ocholo iyolotl. And I said, what does that mean? And he said, his heart ran away. Yeah, his heart ran away, which means that he lost who he is. Yeah, he lost who he. Remember that the first phrase that I taught you says Itlaltzin Kipia Ichani Panoyolo, which means that a star decided to live in our hearts. Yeah, what the same thing happens here is like the heart of that person, the star in that person ran away. It's like it's not himself anymore. So what the language does is like we wish that person to find his heart once more. Yeah, because we cannot help him. We just have to desire that he could find it again, which means that in the Nahuatl language, every single one around us, it's our brother or sister. Yeah, the plants are our brothers, the animals are our brothers. You that are here in this conference, you are my brothers and sisters because we are born from Mother Earth. So I wish your heart always is true, always is right, and never cause pain to your heart. Do not lose it, because if you lose your heart, only yourself, you can find it. So who is the best teacher of our hearts? Well, our elders. Yeah, our elders are the best teachers of our heart because they have lived longer than us. They know the experience. They can tell you what to do and what not to do with your life. And I think that's beautiful. I think we have to recover the idea that those who have lived longer than us know more by the simple fact that they have years of experience. And let's just go to the end of this for Tezcatlipoca, which is Huitzilopochtli. I explained to you that is the rays of the sun. Yeah. And the way I explain this is very simple. If Quetzalcoatl teaches you that you can communicate. If Tezcatlipoca questions you, why are you here? If Xipatotic tells you, make sure that your heart is in symphony with every single one, Huitzilopochtli teaches you what you do with your life, do it the best you can because you only have one. Yeah? I think in Spanish, especially very Mexican Spanish, would say ponte a chingar, which means like you have to get to work. Yeah? You have to get work. You have to do the most of it because if you don't do it, someone else will. And you only have one time. And I remember a small anecdote that happened to me very recently, about 2 or 3 months ago, that I was invited to a soccer game, just like just a random soccer game. And I was playing, and then I saw all the young, very young, like early teens or maybe 20s playing very good. And I was thinking how good it was to be young. And I hope that my years of youth, I lived them as best as I could because that's never coming back. So it just kind of hits you in the head that you have to do the best you can for the age that you have. So if right now I am in my 40s, if I'm right now in my 40s, then I have to make the best of my 40s. I still have energy, I still have some strength in me. So let's do the best of it because my youth is gone. But now this period of maturity, it will give me new skills. You have to do the best of it, and so on and so on and so on. So now we have the four Tezcatlipoca very well and very well explained. Well, in my book, I explain this on 16 ways. Yeah, every single one of them, it's a way of teaching, and every single one of them starts and comes out from a phrase in Nahuatl. There's not one of these concepts that I do not explain it from the words of the Nahuatl, which I think that's what makes the book very precious to me and to everyone who reads it. Now, I'm just going to take the next 6 minutes to blow your mind with something very incredible that's one of the things that I congratulate myself, because it's good to congratulate oneself, that I discovered this only through learning Nahuatl, sorry. So, you know, and you have seen this image, and I'm sure most of you have seen it. And if not, well, here it is. Most of you know this image as, anyone can help me? Well, have you seen this image, by the way? If you have, just put an emoji or a reaction or something so I know that at least you have seen it in your life. Good. Anyone else have seen this image? Well, if you don't, it's very popular. Well, it's very, I wouldn't say it's quite popular, but you have seen it. It's called Tezcatlipoca. And the difference between this one and the one that I showed previously is that around Tezcatlipoca, you have all these symbols. Look, 1, 2, 3, you have a rabbit over here, you have a flower, you have a flint, you have a rain, a deer, anyway. So you have all those symbols around it. These symbols are called tonali, which means our days. Yeah, I'm looking at Valdivia over here, and I hope Valdivia knows every single thing about this because he took my course in Cali, Mexica. So he needs to know all of these symbols. Right. What many people doesn't know is that this specific image, actually, it's part of a much bigger image, which is this one. Yeah. People don't relate this image to all of this. And it's the same slate, I will try to explain this as fast as I can because, well, explaining all of this, it will take me more than 2 hours, but in a very summarized, synthesized way, I can basically tell you what are you looking at. So let's take a look at the first right down corner, which is this one, yeah? And here, for those who are more familiarized with Mexica cosmogony, you're going to see that on the bottom part, you have a count of time. So it's starting in the first day, which is Sipakli, and ending in Xochitl, which marks 20 days. Yeah, from this point to this point, you mark 20 days because then Sipakli starts again. And then it just moves like a snake all the way up and ends again in flower, starts with a crocodile, moves again, ends with flower, starts with crocodile, and so on. So it just makes this kind of tracing, right? But right now, I want you to focus on the first 5, which is until this image ends. This first 5, you can definitely see something happening in a progressive way. If anyone wants to participate, I would love to. Tell me what your, in now what we say, tell me what your star eyes see, what your star eyes. This is because when you read things of the universe, you have to read them with your star. You have to read them with your heart. So what do you see on those first 5 images, my dear students, using your star eyes? Just a random guess. You can guess. It doesn't matter. You can guess.
You see, someone said that Donali, and I would say it looks like someone's getting a piercing or a tattoo.
Okay, that's good. At least we are identifying number 1, tonality. Number 2, the use of a tool, right? Let me
Someone
say,
said transformation too. I don't know if you can see the chat.
oh yeah.
Someone said giving the medicine or knowledge to the person and the person is transforming.
Okay, well, you are not far from that idea, actually. Giving, I'm going to take from that sentence, I'm going to take the verb give, like the action of giving. Something is giving something, right? Let's pay attention to these images, okay? So something, as you pointed out, is providing someone. I just said to you something very beautiful, which is use your star eyes. Yeah, use your star eyes and look where these images are piercing. They are hitting the eye. They are opening the eye. And if you pay attention, right here, you see another icon. Here is the simulation of a seed blooming, seed breaking out. The seed breaking out, then smoke coming out, then hair. Then these images are a woman's womb being cut or open, as it's opening, and then it basically comes out as a flower. This idea is that every single one of us, my dear students, every single one of us, we come from a seed, and every single thing that exists in this universe must in some way be born from a seed. Has to, from the concept of a seed. So the seed breaks, the seed is basically received, it grows hair, and it comes out from a woman. And here we have not gods, neither deities, we have, let's say, virtues that are being given. Centeotl gives us the idea of birth. Tonacatecutli, the idea of inheritance. Mictlancihuatl, the idea of alive, you are alive. Hecatl gives us the wind. And then Xochipilli gives us the way of speaking. That's why we cry. Yeah. And then guess what? We open our star eyes. You see? We open our star eyes and we are presented to the world. We are now outside. And here Xochiquetzal, yeah, presents us as how we are. We are in a specific way. Every single one of us is different. Then Tlaloc gives us our fluids, blood, sweat, etc. Then Mictlantecutli makes us mortal, as in we have a cycle of life and it will end one day. Then we have Tlahuizcalpantecutli, which means the planet Venus, gives us its own radiance, and then the universe, as in Mixcoatl, gives us the power of the stars. So you can see here how the evolution happens. From the beginning, we are inside the womb, and then we come out, and we are still receiving all of these, let's say, gifts from whatever the universe is. And then we move again, another 5. And then we have again, Xochipilli. But look at this. This is the umbilical cord, and it's attached to our belly button. Yeah, it's attached to it. So now we are going to break from it. Xochipilli, Tonatiuh, which means the sun, gives us the power of heat. Tezcatlipoca, the power of our conscience. And then Xipetotec gives us skin and organs. And then we move into other 5, which we are being received by Mayahuel, which gives us the way of feeding. Tlazolteotl, the possibility to keep recycling our own selves. Mictecacihuatl, the exchange with the mother. Chalchutlique and Chantico. But I want you to pay attention specifically now where the baby is, or where the seed is. Here in Mayahuel, the seed is just changed into a snake and pierces the breast of the woman. Yeah. Once the breast of the woman is pierced, which is here, right? You can see here is the nipple, and it's just basically bleeding. The baby needs to interact with it. And now, look, this image for me is beautiful. Most people see it as demons, but no, it's Mictecacihuatl and the mother, which means that you are providing yourself to someone else. The idea of your life, you're going to give it to someone else. It's going to feed from you. It's going to eat from you. And then Chalchutlique provides you with the milk. Here you can see the nipple is open and it's providing the milk. And then Chantico, it's the culmination of this little person into what we call now family. So if now you pay attention to all of this, all of the sections that we basically move, this image now makes so much more sense, because we came from all this kind of, path of receiving, preparing yourself to be alive, and then you receive a tonali, then you receive an identity. In Nahuatl, they say the sun allowed you to be here. Yeah, the sun allowed you to be here. Because what happens when, the baby is born, unfortunately, dead inside the mother, or just a spirit, or just in seconds or minutes after giving birth. In Nahuatl, they explain that the sun was too much for you. The rays of the sun, the rays of Xiticutli was way too much for you. So you have to give away that could not be alive in this world. But when it receives all of these gifts of virtues, then the sun allowed you to be here, and then you are a tonali, you represent something. Yeah, so now this image makes so much more sense. And in the book, I go far more deep into this. Well, students, we have reached the end. So just as a summary, we just basically very quickly, we brush out on these 4 concepts, how they break down each one of them into 4, which makes 16. And here's an image of how do we look ourselves. We are this person, yeah, looking up to the stars. But now our star eyes, they look for these images. Yeah, they search for this. And if we multiply this, then we look at this. Yeah, we look at a count of time, but we are searching for these images. We do not see any more Pegasus. We do not see any more Hercules. We are looking for this up in the sky, up in the stars. And this is exactly what my book talks about. So the spinning of the universe around of who we are. That's Seeds of the Universe, my dear students. This is what the book basically goes into. And if you are very interested in keep pursuing this knowledge by receiving lessons with me, then of course you're more than welcome to contact me, to send me a message, and then maybe we can get a group together. We can get a course running that can provide you with some knowledge that will help you so much with your orientation as curanderas, as medicine women, because you are going to see the world very differently. Question for all of you, who I believe most of you are curanderas or medicine women. How do you say medicine women or curandera in Nahuatl? How do you say that? How do you say, I am a curandera, I am a medicine woman? Surprising, right? Do you want to know? Do you want to know the answer? Okay. The answer is this, and I will try to explain it oh, hold on, I got a chat. Yes, okay, you want to know the answer, okay. I'm gonna write it down, and then I will explain to you what it means, right? Okay, so this is the word, right, Tepactiane, but I will explain to you where it comes from, yeah? The word Pactli, just the word Pactli, which is included in Tepactiane, the word Pactli doesn't mean heal. It doesn't mean heal. It means bring to balance. Yeah, bring to balance. And if I add the prefix te, I mean he or she, doesn't matter if it's a specific gender, now it doesn't care about that. So it's he or she who brings balance, or who can bring balance again to something. And you're going to think about it. Well, that doesn't really explain to me that I am a curandera. Well, it does, because when someone is out of balance, which means is sick, what is your job? When someone is sick, it means that it's out of balance. It just feels down, or it has a stomach ache or a headache. It's just out of balance. What is your job? To cause, again, balance, to create equilibrium. Yeah. And this is what happens when someone comes to you. What you do is you don't make its life better. You make it stable again. Yeah. You make it right. That's a tepactiane. He or she who causes equilibrium. And now think about this. Nature does it as well. Yeah. Nature does it. When we destroy X number of areas, nature finds a way to bring balance again. Yeah. When a small little plant breaks up, it's in, I don't know, the stool breaks out, nature finds a way to bring it balance again. Yeah. So everything in the universe and in our mother nature can be a tepactiane. I'm going to give an example, just very simple. Imagine that my dear friend, Cynthia, I can see here, Cynthia. Okay, my dear friend Cynthia comes to me with a broken heart. Whatever reason, just comes with a broken heart. And what I do is, well, I order some pizza, or maybe I'll take it to the movies, or we get some ice cream, or we get whatever drink she likes. And for that specific afternoon, she forgets why she feels like that. I became a tepactiane because I brought her to balance again. Yeah. Incredible, right? Incredible. So that's a word that I will leave you with you. If you want to be very precise, that is a woman, curandera, then you can add the title Siguatepaj, which means that it's a woman, specifically a woman, that causes equilibrium, but you are forcing it, as in a true Nahuatlacto, a true person who speaks Nahuatl, it will ask you why does it have to be specifically a woman? Because anyone can create balance. So why does it? There are things in the universe that are very masculine and only masculine things, and there are very specific things in the universe that are only feminine and only feminine things. But there are things in the universe that can be applied by both, so you don't need to specify it, right? Okay, so from my part, the presentation, it's done. I don't have any more slides, but I hope that whatever I spoke in this very beautiful time that you provided, and again, I really thank Atava for this magnificent, thing that you have done for me and for my book and for your ancestors. I hope that whatever I spoke tonight, whatever my wind carried to all of you, it was useful, it was motivational, and it created awareness and especially inspired your hearts to change your light, your eyes into star eyes. And I think that's beautiful. Please change your eyes. Our eyes, they need to start seeing stars again because we are stars. So change your eyes. And in my book and in my courses that I run, I help you to do that. I help to change your eyes. So thank you very much. If there are any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them, to hear from you. I'm open to it. Thank you.
Adrián, I'd like to know what other languages you speak.
Sure. Well, I am fluent in Spanish. I am fluent in, as you can tell, in English. I would say half fluent in Nahuatl, and I am poorly fluent, but technically good in French.
Yeah, if you can unmute and ask a question or write it in the chat.
Amotla, Brenda. Amotla means with love.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
Daria, go for it.
Yeah, I just want to thank you so much. I would say I can totally understand if somebody can take a class 3 times and still have like so much more to learn. I want to go back to the very beginning, super basic, when you spoke about, you know, this is not an Aztec calendar, which is obviously, I mean, just to be clear, I'm someone who is super new to kind of diving into my own ancestral background. So sorry, I'm on the train. And can you talk a little bit more about why Aztec, why we don't know it more as Mexica versus Aztec?
Okay, I think I understood what you're trying to say. All right. Let's go ABC history. So very, very basic. The people called Aztecs, the Nahuatl word is Aztlanteca, which means he who comes from a place Aztlan, right? Where is Aztlan? We don't know, right? Aztlan is, there are many, like 3 or 4 different Aztlans, because Aztlan in Nahuatl means place of garzas, or I don't know how to say specific that word in English, but it's a type of bird, right? A place of that bird. And if I name it like that, then we're going to be like 5 or 6 different places with that specific bird. So the Aztlantecas, or the Aztecs, they were a very ancient tribe that decided to migrate from that specific place. And it took more than 250 or 300 years to reach the place that now we call Tenochtitlan. Now think about this, 250 or 300 years. How many generations is that? At least it's like 8 or 10 generations, at least. So the original people who left Aztlan, it slowly became the inheritance of the Aztlantecas. Once they reach the center, as we know now, as Mexico Tenochtitlan, they are no longer Aztlantecas. They understand that their grandfathers are Aztecs, but now they are Mexica. They are different. They think different from the grandfather. Now, once you are and identify as Mexica, and you have a city to build, you have a way of thinking, you have around you different cultures that are older than you, then you build this huge monument to capture the essence of the solar system, right? The sun, the ages, the days, the cycle of the earth, the cycle of the moon, the cycle of Venus, everything is basically written down in images in this stone. So it's not a calendar, because calendar comes from the word of Latin calenda, which means moons. So a calendar measures moons. That's the reason why the Gregorian calendar, it's on 30 days, because the full moon, it takes 29 and a half days to happen. So you are measuring moons by moons, right? And the Aztec way of counting is measured by 13 days. Every 13 days, we change different week, if you want to call it like this. That's called trecenas. So that's the reason why it cannot be called calendar. It's a stone, and it cannot be Aztec because it's very old Aztecs. It's actually Mexica. And the name in Nahuatl, it's written down like this: Cuauhxicalli, the house of the eagle. And the eagle is a representation of the sun. So it's the house of the sun. That's the original name of this, Cuauhxicalli, the house of the sun. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, that's what I didn't. It did, and knowing that like Aztec, that is like.
Okay, fantastic. Now I think I have one. Could you clarify your perspective on the existence of souls when you mentioned not having souls, but it seemed like you were referring to something similar at the heart of the star? Okay. First of all, the idea of soul, right? It first appeared, it didn't appear in the English language. Because English language originally it's a mixture between German, Gaelish, Irish, and then Viking with the small words of Nordic. So it's a mixture of everything, which makes the Anglo-Saxon language. And the Anglo-Saxon language, they learned the concept of soul through Latin, right? Latin, the Latinized language, soul, it's defined as alma, which then changes to anima, right? Anima, that's the reason why we have the word animal, right? Animal means anima, which means something is alive. If I say anima, it's living. So that's an animal, it's a living thing, right? But then it stops there. Anima, it only applies to mammals and us. But what about the plants? The plants, they live, they grow as well. They die as well. They give birth as well. They give fruits, right? So they are alive as well. Grass is alive because it grows and dies. A fly is alive, a scorpion is alive, a snake is alive, etc., etc. So what the Nahuatl language understood is that everything around us that moves, that can grow, that can reproduce, that can give birth, that can provide something, is a piece of a star. It doesn't belong to a great entity dressed in, you know, in tilma and bearded, and you know, it doesn't belong that. It belongs to the universe. And you were provided with a tiny piece of a star that is floating in everywhere, and you were able to live. And then you were given the power of breath, which allows you to communicate. Yeah. So if I ask you this question, thing Lucero, does a grain of coffee has a soul? It's easier to explain. A grain of coffee has wind, has a breath, it has heat. It's alive as well. Yeah. So it's as simple as that. A grain of coffee, in most cases, most people will say to you, no, it doesn't have a soul. Well, then now it will say, well, it does, but it's named Ihio. It's called wind, and it has heat. It has a tonali as well. I hope that clarifies that conception. Anyone else? Okay, I think we are cool. Well, if I have to say some final words, just to all of you, I urge you, I like your passion. I like that your heart speaks to this ancestral knowledge, if you want to call it like that. I appreciate that, and I applaud this effort to, or in your case, to bring balance again to people. Your medicine helps. My inspiration for you would be, change your eyes into star eyes. Change your mind into how really the language sees the world, and therefore how the Mexica see the world. And if my book helps, then go for it. if my lessons and my classes help, then go for it. The greatest teacher in our lives, it's nature, it's Mother Nature. So listen to her and let's take care of her. Simple as it's just, let's just take care of her. Atava, thank you very much. I thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. My heart is very happy and I hope to see you again once more.
Thank you.